Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex. My co-host here is Anthony Rivardo. And we just hired our head coach, my friends. Freaking Brian Daboll, offensive guru for the Buffalo Bills. Giants trying to go with the clean sweep of Buffalo, trying to get their offensive coordinator, trying to get their quarterbacks coach, trying to get their assistant quarterbacks coach. We go into Buffalo, we taking the whole lot, guys. Taking the whole lot, pillaging Buffalo's village, taking all of them. And now we got Joe Schoen running the show at general manager, got Brian Daboll, and I'm really excited to talk about what he's going to bring to this team as the head coach, some of the stories and some of the things that I've been looking up and just doing a lot of research on to find out who is this guy? What is his personality? What is he bringing here? What is his connection to the coaching staff, and how can he help Daniel Jones? That's a big question mark, but I'm super hyped, guys. This is, one of the guys that Anthony and I have both been talking about for weeks now. We really, really wanted him to be the guy based on his offensive mind. Not that Brian Flores was a bad candidate. He was a good candidate, but he didn't really have a plan for offense. He told management during his interview that he was open to any different direction for offense, and I think they were like, well, that's not exactly what we want to hear. We kind of want Brian Daboll to come in here and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to commit to DJ according to Dan Orlovsky. Brian Daboll loves Daniel Jones, so there's a lot of hope that maybe he can bring the best out of him, and he has the tools to develop elite quarterbacks, Anthony, as we've seen with Josh Allen over the past couple of years. But how are you feeling about this hiring? And I'm excited to hear your opinion.
Man, I'm feeling great. I love this hiring. This was my guy. This was clearly Joe Schoen's guy. The second that Joe Schoen walked in the building, once he had the job, he said, I'm getting to work to find the next head coach. And I think he already had a name in mind, and I think it was Brian Daboll. I think that's who he wanted all along. And really, credit to the Giants because they got arguably the best GM candidate on the market, and they also got arguably the best head coach candidate that was out there as well because, going into this offseason, everybody was talking about who are the next big head coaching candidates, who are going to be the top guys in position to get jobs. Well, Brian Flores was a surprise because nobody expected him to get fired and then immediately be the top candidate for multiple other jobs. But Brian Daboll was considered to be the top candidate that was going to be available in this offseason. There you go. New York Giants just got arguably the best GM candidate, and they got the best head coaching candidate. So credit to the Giants. Of course, results will speak volumes to the success of this team and what these guys can do, but this is really exciting if you're a Giants fan. This is huge for the New York Giants. This is going in a completely different direction than the Giants have gone in recent years. And of course, what I love a lot about this, Brian Daboll clearly has a plan in place. He's already moving to get his offensive coordinator, and he's already looking at multiple options. He has a plan to fix the Giants' offense, and I think that's great. Basically, the New York Giants are becoming the New York Buffalo Bill Giants, and Giant Bills, whatever you want to call them, I don't know. The Bills 2.0. But I'm not complaining because the Buffalo Bills are a really great organization that is well ran and knows how to scout, evaluate talent, and then coach and develop that talent, which I think is huge, something that the Giants have been unable to do in recent years. And finally, we can get back on track.
Yes, sir. And you know what? There's one word I want to give to you guys. I always do this on Twitter, ask you guys to give me one word of how you're feeling about different things the Giants are doing. This is one of the better ones. And I'm going to give you one word to describe how I feel about this. Modernized. Modernized. What the Bills do to make their offense better. And I've been doing research, like I said before, figuring out, who the hell is Brian Daboll and how do the Bills feel about losing him? I've seen differing things saying that some people thought he was bad at play calling, this and that. And to those people, you don't know what you're talking about. The Bills had the number 3 offense in football this past year. He opened up the playbook entirely for the postseason, and they went absolutely berserk. And that's a lot of credit to Josh Allen, who he helped develop, him and Ken Dorsey. Both of those two guys are given a lot of credit for helping develop Josh Allen. Daboll has the personality of not only a teacher, but a family member. He's like a dad to all these players. There's a really great story that I heard about Brian Daboll and Josh Allen back in 2020 after a Week 9 game. Josh Allen's grandmother died, right? Josh Allen's grandmother died. Really sad. He's really upset before the game. But Brian Daboll says, Josh, use that right now to have your best game. And then after the game, we'll make sure that we honor her the right way. Guy ended up throwing 4 touchdowns and 450 yards. After the game, Brian Daboll meets Josh Allen in the locker room, and they embrace, they cry together, and they hug it out, and he consoles him after that loss, and they mourn his grandmother together. That is what leadership looks like. That is what That is what relationships with players look like. That is why the Flores and Tua situation scared the crap out of me and a lot of other people. When you hear that with Daboll and Josh Allen, like brothers, or like a dad and a son, or like just a relationship that they have, and another guy, Isaiah McKenzie, the scat back who went off in the first round of the playoffs, he's another guy who Brian Daboll has a tremendous relationships with. He's helped develop him. He's helped make him into a player, but not just a player, but also a great man. He molds men. He doesn't mold players entirely. He molds men, and that respect that he commands from the players stands out to me. What Brian Daboll has done to help not only revitalize that offense, but turn those men into greater people, that's what creates a great culture. You know what I mean? That's what culture is bred in. Great guys in the locker room that respect the coaches because they care a lot. Not to say that Joe Judge didn't care, because he did, but I think the disciplinary factor that Joe Judge brought can sometimes get lost in translation, right? If I was a player and Joe Judge treats me like a family member, then he's like, go run laps, like you suck, you've done this, like cursing at me, whatever. Like there were reports of that. I'd be like, I don't really know how to feel about this. Like, I feel like, I'm trying to get lost. Maybe I don't know how to feel emotionally towards him. But Brian Daboll comes with a totally different mindset. He's totally different, right? He's worked with the Browns. He's worked with the Kansas City Chiefs as offensive coordinator. He's worked with Miami. He's been the Bills OC. He's been all over the place. He's worked with New England. He's been all over the place. He's not a Bill Belichickian offspring, right? He's been everywhere. The guy has learned from so many different people. And I think that's a better thing than the Giants committing again to another guy, maybe even like Flores, who really is a New England disciple. They have that hard-nosed disciplinary factor about them that can rub players the wrong way, as we've seen with a lot of guys. Matt Patricia is another one that players hated. So I think when you're looking at Brian Daboll, his personality is totally different. And this is what a Bills website had to say about Brian Daboll and the loss. It's a tough blow for Buffalo, as Daboll played a masterful part in turning around the team's entire offense. Namely, he helped quarterback Josh Allen become one of the NFL's best. So that's what a Bills website said about Brian Daboll. I think that when you're looking at him as a head coach, he's so much more than that, right? He's a molder of men. And I think that's what stood out to me and why I really was attracted to him as a prospect here and a candidate, Anthony. He wants to tailor himself. He wants to tie himself to Ken Dorsey. And that's the Bills' head offensive assistant and their quarterbacks coach, another guy who's helped develop Josh Allen. And if they love Daniel Jones a lot, and they want to really instill that faith and confidence in him and build the offensive line and build good factors around him so that he can succeed, Anthony, how do you feel about kind of clean sweeping Buffalo's offensive staff, taking everybody? Tierney's another name who's the assistant quarterbacks coach. They're trying to clean sweep, guys. They're literally trying to take like 50% of their coaching staff and make it the New York Giant Bills. Like, it's a crazy scenario that's happening right now. And Buffalo's like, what the hell's going on? Our whole coaching staff, our number 3 ranked offense is getting pillaged right now. Josh Allen's losing all of his guys. Like, this is I don't think I've ever seen anything like this happen. When they're just basically taking the whole offensive staff and replacing it, moving it over to the Giants. That's a wild scenario. But how are you feeling about that? Do you think that you trust those Buffalo Bills guys to get it done here?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think that they're kind of cut from a different cloth, so to speak. It's a much different organization now for the Giants than it was in the past, because the culture and the structure is different, because now we're bringing in guys from other organizations. When we brought in Dave Gettleman, it was different, right? Because he was running his former Panthers team like the Giants used to run their old teams in the 80s, because that's when Dave Gettleman got his big break in the NFL. He was originally an assistant in the front office of the Giants. So he was really part of the Giants brain trust, and he was just Giants culture. But now this is a little bit different, because Joe Schoen has no connections to the Giants other than the fact that he was in Miami at the same time as Bill Parcells. That was pretty much his only connection. So there is like a huge difference between a guy like Dave Gettleman and a guy like Joe Schoen. I mean, it is night and day. It's clear as day that you could see that too. So Joe Schoen's going to step in here, I think, really change the way that this organization is ran. And I think that it's pretty awesome, though, that they're trying to keep that continuity with Joe Schoen, right? Joe Schoen was from Buffalo. Now he wants to get his head coach from Buffalo, and his head coach wants to get his offensive coordinator from Buffalo. And all of that creates synergy, right, Alex? We just talked about that the other day. We talked about the synergy between a head coach and a GM. Well, we also got to talk about the synergy between a head coach, an offensive coordinator, an offensive line coach, and so on and so forth. We know how damaging it can be if the head coach and the offensive coordinator do not have synergy, or if the head coach and the offensive line coach don't have synergy, right? Joe Judge, Jason Garrett, of course, Mark Colombo. There was a whole lot of roster overturn on the offensive side of the ball for the Giants, and I mean, coaching staff overturn as well. That is the stuff that the Giants need to avoid. So when they're looking at Brian Daboll as their next head coach, and they've got guys like Ken Dorsey that could definitely become the offensive coordinator, that's all really important because of the relationships that are already built in. It's not like they're hiring a guy that they've never met before and they have no idea who he is. They all have a relationship, and it's a good, strong working relationship from a winning culture up in Buffalo that's gotten it done the past couple of years. Sure, they haven't made it all the way to the Super Bowl, but they've made it pretty damn close, and that's a lot more than the Giants could say in the past 5 to 10 years. So, Buffalo, really good organization, and I love that the Giants are trying to replicate what's made that team so successful.
Yep, that's 100%. And I want to give you guys a couple more quotes here on Daboll and what the ownership had to say and what Joe Schoen had to say about him as a leader. So this is what Joe Schoen had to say about hiring Daboll as the new head coach of the Giants. He says, over the last 4 years, I have observed firsthand Brian's strengths as a leader. He is an excellent communicator, intelligent, innovative, and hardworking. Brian's genuine and engaging personality is refreshing. He fosters relationships with the players and coaches around him. He is progressive in his vision and values collaboration, two of the attributes we think are essential. Ownership goes on to say about him, Mara described him as a dynamic leader. Tish said it was obvious that Daboll has spent his career preparing for this moment. And honestly, I think they're right. I think he has been preparing diligently for this moment, for the opportunity to coach a team and be the head man in charge. He's been working his ass off. The guy is from Canada. He spent a lot of time in upstate New York. He's been with Cleveland. He's been everywhere. And I think that all of that essential information he's gained and knowledge he's consumed and just retained over the years is essential, right? It's essential for him being a next guy. But here's the thing. I don't want to see any more words. I don't want to see him pull a Joe Judge and say, rah, rah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring, the white collar workers or the blue collar workers of New York, and we're going to make you guys happy. Like, screw that. I don't want to hear that shit anymore. I'm done with the rah, rah bullshit. I don't want to see another Joe Judge. I don't think Brian Daboll's that guy. I really don't. I think he's totally different. I've listened to his press conferences, and he acknowledges the mistakes and how far behind his unit was to begin the season. I listened recently to a little portion of what he was talking about in terms of evolving with the NFL. He goes, we have to keep evolving with the NFL. The offensive scheme, we have to keep evolving and make sure that we're up to date. We're still very far behind from where we need to be. Accountability. So I like that he said that. And then he goes on to say, we give Josh Allen the freedom to be able to make reads at the line of scrimmage, change the play, go off script, do what he needs to do. The Giants micromanage Daniel Jones every single step of the way. They babied the shit out of him. And I'm tired of that shit. I don't want to see Daniel Jones babied anymore. If they want to see what he's got, they got to let him fly. They got to push him out the nest. See if he's got wings. If he's got little stubs, so be it. He hits the ground and we move on. But this is where we are in Daniel Jones' development. You got to push him out of the nest. See if he can fly. Give him the responsibility. Give him the ability to go off script. Give him the ability to read pre-snap and use his goddamn brain. No more Jason Garrett micromanaging him. First hot reads. No more of that crap. Let the guy play. Let him ball. That is what I think Brian Daboll is going to do, because if you watch Josh Allen, they give him the freedom to do that. Now, the offensive line plays a big part in that, keep in mind. So the Giants, I expect heavily to invest in the offensive line, whether it be the NFL draft or clearing up cap space to free up money in free agency. And we have a video that's going to drop tomorrow talking about 5 or 6 players they can cut or trade to release some of that money that's tied up. They can create $30-40 million. They're going to have to go out and get offensive linemen, push some, restructure some contracts for future years, because unfortunately that is what we're going to have to do. But at the end of the day, we need to create money because we need to give Daniel Jones the best opportunities to succeed. So expect them to go heavy into the offensive line this offseason for sure. Joe Schoen already mentioned how much of a mess it is, throwing Dave Gettleman under the bus. Clap, clap. Great job, Shane. Because Dave Gettleman deserves all the freaking the negativity for what he did to that offensive line. And I'm so happy to have someone now that is ingrained in analytics, modernized offensive schemes, evolving with the league. And we got guys that are in unison. The synergy is there. They're lockstep. They know where the team needs to go. They know what it looks like, guys. They know where the Buffalo Bills just got to. Their offseason or their postseason was determined by a coin toss. They could have easily won the Super Bowl this year, which is a problem the NFL has to fix. So honestly, when I'm looking at this, I think that the communication that's already there between Shane and Daboll is going to be essential in expediting the process and the progress this team needs to make in the coming months. But again, it's about action. It's about drive. I feel like I'm singing that freaking Dwayne the Rock Johnson song, but it's about those factors, and it's about those guys working hand in hand to develop what's already needs to be done. Joe Shane's already done a lot of research on the first 4 rounds of the draft. The Senior Bowl is coming up. And by the way, I want to mention this, and we're going to make a whole video on this soon. Maybe tomorrow we'll record about this, Anthony. When it comes to the defensive side, I am not opposed to bringing back Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham and Brian Daboll worked together in New England all those years ago. They're familiar. They're friends. So I think that would make sense, because if they retain Patrick Graham, it provides some continuity and some consistency where Daboll doesn't have to worry about the defensive turnover, figuring out that. They can let Patrick Graham kind of manage that and do what he's got to do. And he knows what he has in the youth. Aaron Robinson, Azeez Ojulari, Julian Love, he knows what he has. If you turn over that entire thing, Brian Daboll now has to work with both sides. Daboll, if he's allowed to just fully invest all that time into the offensive side of the ball, we're going to see a lot more success and tremendous increase in success moving forward. Worst case scenario, Patrick Graham and the defense has a down year next year. They fire Patrick Graham, they hire a new defensive coordinator. Worst case scenario, but I think it's about the offense now. They need Daboll fully committed to Daniel Jones and that offense, and Patrick Graham being retained, I think would be a good move there. But then again, you could say Don Martindale, Wink, is definitely, he has the experience to go over and take that job and smooth it over immediately and do what he's got to do without a ton of direction. So I think that that's also fair to mention. So we could see some turnover there. It's going to be interesting, guys. But Anthony, I'll give you your last 2 cents. I think that, we've kind of hit on a lot of points in this episode.
Yeah, I'll just say I agree. I would like to see Patrick Graham at least get interviewed for the defensive coordinator job. I know he has a couple of head coaching interviews that he's got to get done first. So, I'm hoping that he gets one of those, because that's what's best for Patrick Graham. I hope that he becomes a head coach. But if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I would love for him to remain the defensive coordinator, rather, of the New York Giants. I think, there's a certain level of continuity that would be nice to carry over into the new regime. Now, of course, I was like, hard reboot. I really do want a hard reboot. And if the Giants go with Wink Martindale, I'm going to be thrilled. I think Wink Martindale is a phenomenal defensive coach, and he's a guy that almost got the Giants head coaching job in 2018 or 2020 rather. So when we're going forward and we're talking about the New York Giants defense with Patrick Graham, I think that he is a really strong candidate, but versus him or Wink Martindale, that's kind of a toss-up. It's just really, do you want to try and go with that continuity in Patrick Graham? Now, you got guys like Leonard Williams, guys like James Bradbury, Blake Martinez, and of course, the young guys, Xavier McKinney, who's had really great success under Patrick Graham. You might want to keep a level of continuity on this coaching staff for those players, because they've been succeeding, they've been excelling. These are good players that really like Patrick Graham. I mean, pretty much everybody really likes Patrick Graham at the end of the day. He's pretty fucking awesome. So I think that these guys would love to stay with Patrick Graham and have him continue to coach the Giants defense. But at the end of the day, whatever Brian Daboll decides, I'm going to be cool with, because it sounds like it's going to come down to Patrick Graham or Wink Martindale. And like I said, Wink Martindale and everything that he did over in Baltimore with the Ravens defense was phenomenal. I think that he is a really top-tier defensive coordinating coaching candidate. So the Giants kind of can't go wrong. I think they've done a great job. They put themselves in a phenomenal position. And of course, even on the offensive side of the ball, the coaching staff that they're building there looks to be really, really sound. And then we're talking about Daniel Jones. I do want to mention that because you mentioned him, Alex. With Daniel Jones, I think that this kind of makes it like now or never. It's do or die, right? Like there's a new head coach coming in. This head coach is supposedly a quarterback genius, quarterback guru. Now it's kind of time for Daniel Jones to put up or shut up. Like, you have to perform this season. I know we said that last year. Things got a little haywire with all the injuries, the offensive coordinator issue, but now there really shouldn't be any excuses with a head coach like Brian Daboll stepping in with a phenomenal offensive scheme that he has. So I think that if there's anyone to get the most out of Daniel Jones and turn this team into a great success with Daniel Jones at quarterback, it is Brian Daboll. But then again, I think that no matter who the quarterback is, Brian Daboll is one of the best coaches that you could pair with a young quarterback to try and get the most out of them. So it's going to be really exciting and really interesting to see exactly the development that Daniel Jones is able to go through. But at the end of the day, with Brian Daboll as his head coach, this is the best chance he's ever had of being successful in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're spot on, and I'm excited, guys. We got our new head coach. Maybe Ken Dorsey's on the way. We'll see what happens. The defensive coordinator. There's a lot of stuff left to happen. We got you guys covered every day. Apologize we didn't have an immediate reaction video out last night. I was at a happy hour. Of course, I thought it was going to happen today and we'd be ready for it. But damn, 3 drinks in, they announced this and I'm like, oh, what do I do? But at the end of the day, we got it out for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, my friends. Much love. Really excited. Would love to hear your opinions and your reactions to this in the comment section below on YouTube. I know a lot of people are really excited, so let's get it done. Let's freaking go into the future, modernize the hell out of this team, and get our best foot forward. Because as I said, this is a time for us to develop, to evolve, and let's watch that happen. Let's see action, no more words. We want to see it happen, guys. But much love as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants. Let's go, Big Blue.